this is a very interesting time for all of this, because I think this is probably one of the first times in our nation where the SBA and the federal government have made available loans to small businesses as a result of a pandemic.
Right.
We typically see something like this happening in a natural disaster,
Right.
and not in a medical emergency. So I think they understand the impact is just the same. So the two programs I'm going to talk about over the next few minutes are basically the Paycheck Protection Program that I think Senator Scott talked about a little bit. And then it's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or EIDL. You probably heard that term, EIDL. And as Senator Scott talked about, the Payroll Protection Program is basically for organizations with under 500 people. And this program is administered by banks. The other program I'm going to talk about in a few minutes will be administered directly by the SBA. So if you have a current lender right now that's an SBA lender, you should be reaching out to that lender to talk about the Payroll Protection Program, because that program will be administered by local institutions in your community. And the SBA has about 800 lenders on its roster. So you should check to see, and I'm going to give you the website to the SBA at some point during this discussion, and you can check it out for yourself. So the Payroll Protection Program is basically meant to keep people at work, because as you can imagine, a lot of folks are concerned about the income coming in, but they have payroll that need to meet. And so this is a program where you can get up to $10 million, to cover, your payroll for an 8-week period. And as Senator Scott talked about, if you use that money for payroll, a portion of it will be forgiven. Now, the guidance regarding this is changing every day. At one point, earlier last week, it was 100% would be forgiven if it was used for payroll. Now, because the subscription is so high, they're saying it's about 75%. But in any event, a portion of the loan that's used for payroll will be forgiven. The other important thing about, this loan is that there's no personal or business guarantee required. In other words, you can get this loan basically on your word. You don't have to pledge any assets or collateral. You will have to sign a certification as to the use of funds, but as you know, many people on this phone have applied for loans before and probably have even been denied because you didn't have, collateral or a guarantee. Well, through the Paycheck Protection Program, you don't need collateral or a guarantee. And as Senator talked about, you can get up to 250% or 2 times your average payroll in terms of a loan. I think all of those things you should discuss with your accountant. Go to your current lender to see if they're an SBA lender. If they're not, find an SBA lender in your community, and you can apply for the Paycheck Protection Program loan. It will help you to keep your employees. And if you laid off employees already, you might be able to go back and get those employees and bring them back on through the use of this fund.
So Vaughn, just before you keep going, so understand what Attorney McKoy is saying. These are not government loans. These are bank loans guaranteed by the government.
Correct, 100% guaranteed.
We're not borrowing money from the government for those who have trustees and deacons and elders who are just so afraid. These are bank loans, but the bank is willing to do it without fees, without guarantees, without regard to credit scores, because the government is guaranteeing 100% of the loans. So you're not borrowing money from the government. You're borrowing money based on government funding to the bank, but the bank does the lending.
That's exactly correct. So it doesn't hurt to apply, because all the bank's going to do is follow the SBA guidelines. They got the guarantee. Typically, banks lend maybe 75 to 80%, and they guarantee that amount. So they don't guarantee the 100% of the loan. In this case, because of the situation that we're in, they're guaranteeing the loan up to 100%. So I would say, definitely reach out to your current lender if you have one, your current bank who does all of your banking for your institutions right now. See if they are an SBA approved lender, and then go through that process. They should be able to help you with that.